The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, mixed in with the usual stack of sympathy cards and donation acknowledgments that crossed my desk at the hospice. Whitmore and Associates, estate planning attorneys. I almost tossed it into the pile for our legal department, assuming it was another bequest notification from a grateful family. But then I saw my name, Gabriel Morrison, typed clearly on the envelope, not the hospice's. I sliced it open with the letter opener Elena had given me for our 10th anniversary, a silver piece engraved with "Till death do us part." Dear Mr. Morrison, we are writing to confirm your appointment next Thursday at 2 p.m. regarding the power of attorney arrangement for Mrs. Margaret Sullivan. As discussed with Mrs. Morrison during her last visit with you both, we believe it's crucial to finalize these documents while Mrs. Sullivan is still experiencing periods of lucidity. Margaret Sullivan, Elena's Aunt Maggie, the woman whose memorial service I had personally conducted in our living room 3 years ago. My office phone rang before I could process what I'd just read. Gabriel Morrison, I answered automatically. Gabe, it's Martha. The Harris family is here for their consultation. Give me 5 minutes. Everything all right? Yes, just give me 5 minutes. I dialed the number on the letterhead. Whitmore and Associates. How may I direct your call? This is Gabriel Morrison. I received a letter about an appointment regarding Margaret Sullivan. Oh yes, Mr. Morrison. Mr. Whitmore has been expecting your call. One moment, please. The hold music played while my mind raced. 3 years ago, Elena had sobbed in my arms about Aunt Maggie's sudden passing. She'd shown me the obituary from the newspaper. We'd held a memorial service. She'd taken bereavement leave. Mr. Morrison, James Whitmore here. Thank you for calling back so promptly. I know these matters can be overwhelming, but I assure you, we'll make the power of attorney process as smooth as possible for you and your wife. Mr. Whitmore, I think there might be some confusion. Could you clarify the current situation with Mrs. Sullivan? Well, as I explained to your wife and yourself last month when you visited Mrs. Sullivan at Willowbrook Assisted Living, her dementia has progressed to the point where we need to ensure her affairs are properly managed. Your wife has been so devoted, visiting 3 times a week. Mrs. Sullivan is blessed to have such caring family. We visited together last month? Yes, indeed. Mrs. Sullivan was having one of her good days. She was quite charming, actually. Kept calling you that handsome doctor and asking when you two would give her great-grandchildren. Though I understand from your wife that you're actually in the clergy, not medicine? That's correct. I'm a hospice chaplain. Ah, well, the mind plays tricks at that age. She seemed quite convinced you were a cardiologist. Anyway, shall we keep the Thursday appointment? 2 o'clock? I'll need to check with Elena and get back to you. Of course. Oh, and Mr. Morrison? I should mention that Mrs. Sullivan's estate is quite substantial. Her late husband's real estate investments have appreciated considerably. We're talking about assets in the range of several $1,000,000. I know your wife wants to ensure everything is handled properly for her aunt's care. Several $1,000,000. Elena had cried about how Aunt Maggie had died with barely enough to cover her funeral expenses. After ending the call, I pulled up Elena's social media on my computer. Her privacy settings had hidden posts from me for the last 3 years. Creating a fake account with a stock photo, I accessed her unrestricted profile. There she was, 2 weeks ago, at Willowbrook Assisted Living. Blessed to spend time with family, the caption read. The photo showed her sitting beside an elderly woman I recognized immediately. Aunt Maggie, very much alive. The comment below from Vincent Castellano. Your aunt is lucky to have such a devoted niece. See you both Thursday. Question mark. Question mark. Elena had responded, she adores you. Keeps asking when her handsome doctor nephew is coming back. I called Martha. Cancel the Harris consultation. Family emergency. Of course, Gabriel. Should I reschedule them? Have Luis handle it. I'll be out for the day. Willowbrook Assisted Living was 40 minutes across town. The receptionist, Ashley, according to her name tag, smiled as I approached. Good afternoon. How can I help you? I presented my chaplain identification. I'm here for my monthly rounds. I like to check in on residents who might benefit from spiritual support. Oh, how wonderful! We really appreciate when clergy visit. Would you like a list of residents who have requested pastoral care? That would be helpful. Also, I believe you have a Mrs. Margaret Sullivan here. I knew her family from the hospital. Ashley's face lit up. Oh, Mrs. Sullivan. She's such a sweetheart. Room 247. Her niece Elena is just wonderful. She's here all the time with her husband. Such a devoted couple. Her husband, Dr. Castellano, he's been so helpful with the other residents, too, offering informal consultations. We're lucky to have medical professionals who care so much. Mrs. Sullivan just adores him. She's always talking about her niece's wonderful husband, the heart doctor. How long have they been visiting together? Oh, let me think. It must be over a year now, maybe longer. They're usually here Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, and sometimes Sunday mornings. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Elena's extra shifts. Sunday mornings when I was conducting early service. I made my way to room 247, stopping at several other rooms first to maintain my cover. Finally, I knocked on Mrs. Sullivan's door. Come in. The elderly woman in the floral armchair looked up from her crossword puzzle. Silver hair carefully styled, expensive pink cardigan. This was not a woman whose family had forgotten her. Mrs. Sullivan. I'm Gabriel Morrison. I'm a chaplain here at the facility. Her face brightened. Morrison, like my Elena's name. She's Elena Morrison now, you know. Married to a wonderful doctor. They visit me all the time. Tell me about Elena's husband. Oh, he's marvelous. Tall, dark hair, very handsome. He's a heart doctor, cardiologist, Elena says. They've been married. Oh, how long now? Time is funny, isn't it? Sometimes it feels like years, sometimes like yesterday. Do you remember Elena's first husband? Her face clouded. Such a tragedy. He was in ministry, I think? Or was he a teacher? Elena doesn't like to talk about it. The accident was so sudden. She was devastated, you know. But Vincent, Dr. Castellano, he helped her through it. Sometimes God takes one blessing to give us another. Mrs. Sullivan, do you have any photos of Elena and her husband? Oh, yes. Elena made this for me, to help me remember. She handed me a beautifully crafted album. There is Elena at our wedding, but I'd been cropped out, replaced in some photos with Vincent. Our vacation to Bermuda had become their honeymoon. The house we'd bought together now appeared to be where she lived with him. This was their wedding, Mrs. Sullivan said, pointing to a photo I recognized. Elena in the dress I'd watched her walk down the aisle in, but standing beside Vincent in front of the altar where I'd waited for her. Wasn't she beautiful? Yes, beautiful. Mrs. Sullivan, has Elena talked to you about any legal matters? Powers of attorney, estate planning? Oh yes, Vincent is helping with all that. Such a smart man. He says we need to make sure I'm protected, that my money is safe for when Elena has children. They're trying, you know. I do hope I live to see my great-grandnieces or nephews. I'm sure you will. Thank you for your time, Mrs. Sullivan. Please come again, Father. Maybe you'll meet Elena and Vincent. They should be here tomorrow afternoon. Back in my car, I called Father Luis Martinez. Gabrielle, how's the day treating you? Luis, I need your advice. Can you meet me at St. Christopher's in an hour? Of course. Everything okay? No, it's not. St. Christopher's was empty except for Luis when I arrived. I told him everything. The letter, the calls, Willowbrook, the photo album. Mother of God, Luis said when I finished. Gabriel, this is more than infidelity. This is systematic fraud. What do I do? My first instinct is to confront her, but no. Document everything first. You need evidence, and you need a lawyer. I'm going to that appointment tomorrow, at Whitmore's office. Be careful. Record it if you can. And Gabriel, remember that vengeance belongs to the Lord. I'm not seeking vengeance. I'm seeking justice. Make sure you remember the difference. That night, Elena came home around 11. How was your shift? I asked in the darkness. Exhausting. 3 codes tonight. We lost one. I texted my friend in the cardiac unit. It had been a quiet night. I'm sorry. That's always hard. She rolled over and kissed my cheek. You're sweet. How was your day? Routine. Visited some families. Did rounds at Willowbrook. She stiffened. Willowbrook? Any of our parishioners there? A few. No one you'd know. That's good. Thought you visit them, I mean. Elena? I love you. Silence. Then, I know. The next morning, Elena left early. I spent the morning gathering documents, our marriage certificate, identification, photos, financial records. I also placed a small digital recorder in my jacket pocket, making sure it was working properly. At the offices of Whitmore and Associates, I waited in my car until I saw them arrive. Elena and Vincent, walking together with casual intimacy. She wore a dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. His hand rested on the small of her back. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. Gabriel Morrison. I have a 2 o'clock with Mr. Whitmore. The receptionist looked confused. Mr. Morrison, but I thought, just a moment. She disappeared. I could hear Elena's voice rising in pitch. Then Mr. Whitmore appeared. Mr. Morrison, there seems to be some confusion. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison are already here. I understand the confusion. I'm Gabriel Morrison. The man in your office is Dr. Vincent Castellano. And while the woman is indeed Elena Morrison, she's my wife, not his. His expression changed completely. Perhaps you should come in. The scene in his office was unforgettable. Elena's face drained of color as I entered. Vincent's hand dropped from her shoulder. Hello, Elena, Dr. Castellano. Elena tried one desperate play. James, this man is confused. He's a patient of Vincent's with delusions. Stop. I laid out my documents on Whitmore's desk. Driver's license, marriage certificate, recent photos from last Christmas, our joint tax returns. Mr. Whitmore examined each carefully. Mrs. Morrison, this is a very serious matter. Attempting to fraudulently obtain power of attorney over a vulnerable adult is a felony. We weren't trying to steal anything. I just wanted to make sure Aunt Maggie was taken care of. By telling her I was dead? I asked. By creating an elaborate fiction where you're married to him? You don't understand, Gabriel. You're never here. You're always with other people's families helping them die. Do you know what it's like being married to death? So you decided to kill me off? I didn't plan it. Aunt Maggie was confused one day. She thought Vincent was my husband when he came to consult on her medication. It made her so happy, so I didn't correct her. For over a year. Once it started, I couldn't stop. Mr. Whitmore cleared his throat. I'm going to have to report this to Adult Protective Services. I suggest all parties seek legal counsel immediately. I've already contacted APS, I said, showing the email confirmation on my phone, and the medical board regarding Dr. Castellanos' participation. Vincent went pale. The medical board? You've been posing as the husband of a patient's family member, participating in elder abuse. I love her. That's not an excuse, but I love her. You wanted the money. No, Elena stood. It was never about the money. I didn't even know about the estate until… Until when? She couldn't answer. Mr. Whitmore stood. I think you should all leave. Mrs. Morrison, Dr. Castellano, I'll be reporting this to the appropriate authorities. Mr. Morrison, the actual Mr. Morrison, I'd be happy to help you protect Mrs. Sullivan's interests. Elena looked at me. Gabriel, please. Can we talk? Through lawyers. You made me dead, Elena. Now I'm making it official. Outside, Vincent caught up with me in the parking lot. Morrison, wait, I turned. What could you possibly have to say? I know you won't believe me, but I do love her. This wasn't some scheme, wasn't it? A multi-million-dollar estate? A vulnerable elderly woman with dementia, and you just happened to fall in love? It wasn't like that. Elena and I reconnected when I moved here. She was lonely, you were always… Careful, doctor. Anything you say now can be used in the investigation. He ran his hand through his hair. Look, I know how this looks. But Elena was drowning. She said living with you was like being buried alive, surrounded by death and grief every single day. So she buried me instead. Literally, in her aunt's mind. That was wrong. We both know that. But the feelings between us, those are real. Real enough to risk your medical license, your career? He looked away. I didn't think it would go this far. No? What did you think would happen? That I'd never find out? That you'd successfully steal an elderly woman's estate and live happily ever after? We weren't stealing. You were manipulating a woman with dementia into changing her will. That's theft. A car pulled up. Elena got out of her vehicle and approached us. Vincent, we should go. Elena. I turned to face her fully. 3 years. You've been lying about Aunt Maggie being dead for 3 years? Not lying. Not at first. She was very sick 3 years ago. The doctor said she might not make it. I was grieving the woman who raised me, the one who was disappearing into dementia. When she recovered physically but got worse mentally, I couldn't face telling you. So you showed me a fake obituary? Held a memorial service? I was grieving. Just not the way you thought. And Vincent? When did he become part of this grief? She looked at Vincent, then back at me. About 18 months ago. We ran into each other at the hospital, started having coffee. Just as friends at first. At first. You were never home, Gabriel. And when you were, all you talked about was death. Mrs. Johnson's final words, the Thompson family's grief, the proper hymns for a child's funeral. Do you have any idea what that was like? It's my calling, Elena. You knew that when you married me. I thought I could handle it. But year after year, death after death, Vincent made me feel alive again. So alive that you killed me off. Vincent stepped forward. We should all calm down. Don't, I held up my hand. You've done enough. Elena, I want you out of the house by tonight. Gabriel, please. Can't we work through this? Counseling, therapy. You told your aunt I was dead. You created fake photos. You've been planning to steal her estate. There's nothing to work through. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Vincent has a nice place, I'm sure. I walked to my car, ignoring Elena calling after me. As I drove away, I saw them in my rearview mirror, standing in the parking lot, Vincent's arm around her shoulders. That evening, I returned home to find Elena packing. She'd been crying, her face puffy and red. I called a lawyer, she said without looking up. He says you can't just kick me out. It's my house, too. Fine, I'll leave. But we're done, Elena. 23 years, Gabriel. We've been together 23 years, 13 married, and apparently I've been dead for 3 of those. She stopped packing. I never meant for it to go this far. How far did you mean for it to go? Just a little fraud? Just a little elder abuse? Stop saying that. I love Aunt Maggie. Everything I did was for her. Everything you did was for you. And Vincent. And the millions you thought you'd inherit. That's not true. Elena, I found your laptop, your browser history. You've been researching estate law for months. You've been looking up how to transfer property titles. You've been planning this. She sank onto the bed. It wasn't supposed to be like this. How was it supposed to be? Simple, clean. Aunt Maggie would be cared for, we'd manage her estate, and when she passed, yes, we'd inherit. But we'd use it for good things. Vincent wants to open a free clinic. I wanted to start a foundation for dementia research. With money you obtained through fraud. With money that would have gone to distant cousins who haven't visited her in years. That wasn't your decision to make. Wasn't it? I'm the one who raised her medications when she couldn't remember. I'm the one who held her when she cried about forgetting her husband's name. I'm the one who's been there. With Vincent. Pretending I was dead. She started crying again. I can't defend that. I know it was wrong. Then why did you do it? Because it was easier than admitting our marriage was already dead. The words hung between us like a blade. Get out, I said quietly. Take what you need for now. We'll handle the rest through lawyers. She stood, grabbed her suitcases. At the door, she turned. I did love you, Gabriel. Once. I know. That's what makes this worse. After she left, I called Louise. She's gone? Yes. How are you holding up? I honestly don't know. I feel numb. That's normal. Gabriel, I've been thinking. You need to visit Mrs. Sullivan again, with a social worker present. She needs to know the truth. That could traumatize her. Living a lie is traumatizing her. She has the right to know. He was right. I called Adult Protective Services the next morning and arranged for a social worker named Jennifer Horton to accompany me to Willowbrook. Mrs. Sullivan was in the common room when we arrived, working on a puzzle with another resident. Mrs. Sullivan. I'm Jennifer Horton from Adult Protective Services. This is Gabriel Morrison. We'd like to talk with you privately. Oh, is something wrong? Is Elena okay? Elena is fine, I said, but we need to discuss something important. In her room, Jennifer gently explained the situation. Mrs. Sullivan's confusion was heartbreaking to watch. But Elena said Gabriel died. She showed me the newspaper. I'm Gabriel, Mrs. Sullivan. I'm Elena's husband. I'm alive. No. Vincent is Elena's husband, the doctor. Jennifer showed her the marriage certificate, photos of Elena and me together from just months ago. I don't understand. Elena said there was an accident. She said you died. She lied to you, Mrs. Sullivan. I'm sorry. The elderly woman began to cry. Why would she lie to me? We think she was confused herself, Jennifer said gently. But we're here to help you now, to make sure you're protected. It took 3 more visits before Mrs. Sullivan could fully grasp what had happened. On her good days, she was furious. On her bad days, she asked where Vincent was. Meanwhile, the legal proceedings moved forward. The medical board launched an investigation into Vincent. The assisted living facility placed Elena on administrative leave pending their own investigation. Adult Protective Services filed a report with the district attorney's office. 2 weeks after the confrontation, I met with Robert Horton, the divorce attorney Luis had recommended. This is one of the most unusual cases I've seen, Robert said, reviewing the documents. The fraud aspect, the elder abuse, the false declaration of death. It actually works in your favor for the divorce. I don't want to destroy her. I just want out. That's admirable, but Gabriel, she was planning to steal millions of dollars. She told people you were dead. This goes beyond simple infidelity. What are you suggesting? Use it as leverage. She agrees to an uncontested divorce, signs away any claim to alimony or your pension, and you don't pursue criminal charges. Can I not pursue charges? Isn't that up to the DA? For the elder abuse, yes. But for the fraud against you personally, you have some say. It's leverage. That evening, I went to see Aunt Maggie again. She was having a good day. Gabriel, she said when I entered, my real nephew-in-law. How are you feeling today? Angry, confused, sad. Elena was like my daughter. I raised her after her parents died. How could she do this to me? To you? I don't know. That doctor, Vincent. He seemed so nice, so caring. Was it all an act? I think he probably does care for Elena. They just went about everything the wrong way. The lawyer says Elena won't be allowed to visit me anymore. That's to protect you? I know, but she's still my niece. I still love her, despite everything. That's natural. What's going to happen to her? She'll probably lose her nursing license. Vincent will likely lose his medical license. Beyond that, I don't know. Mrs. Sullivan was quiet for a moment. I want to change my will. Not to punish Elena, but to do what's right. Would you help me? Of course. I want most of it to go to Alzheimer's research. Maybe something good can come from this mess. A month later, the divorce was finalized. Elena agreed to everything. No alimony, no claim on the house or my pension. In exchange, I didn't pursue personal fraud charges, though the DA's office continued their investigation into the elder abuse. Vincent's medical license was suspended pending a full investigation. He left the state before criminal charges could be filed. Elena's nursing license was revoked. Last I heard, she was working at a medical supply company in another state. I continued visiting Aunt Maggie twice a week. Her condition deteriorated, but she had moments of clarity where we could talk about her life, her memories, her wishes for her estate. 6 months after everything came to light, Luis invited me to dinner. There's someone I want you to meet, he said. Her name is Patricia. She's a social worker at the hospital. Luis, I'm not ready. It's just dinner. 4 friends having a meal. No pressure. Patricia turned out to be warm, intelligent, and understanding of my work. She dealt with death and grief too, helping families navigate end-of-life decisions. Luis tells me you're a hospice chaplain, she said over appetizers. For 23 years now. That's a calling, not just a job. Most days. Some days it's harder than others. I can imagine. I work with families making impossible decisions. The weight of it can be overwhelming. We talked about work, about the challenge of maintaining boundaries, about finding meaning in difficult circumstances. It was the first normal conversation I'd had in months. A year later, Aunt Maggie passed peacefully in her sleep. I'd been with her the day before, and she'd been lucid, talking about her late husband, about Elena as a child, about forgiveness. I forgive her, she'd said, holding my hand. Not for what she did, but for what she lost. She lost you, Gabriel. She lost herself. That's punishment enough. I handled her funeral arrangements. Elena didn't attend. She wasn't allowed to, given the restraining order. But she sent flowers, white roses, Aunt Maggie's favorite. The estate, valued at $3.7 million, was distributed according to Mrs. Sullivan's final wishes. The bulk went to the Alzheimer's Association and a local dementia care facility. She left me $50,000, which I tried to refuse, but the executor insisted it was her explicit wish. She said you were the son she never had, the executor explained. The one who protected her when she couldn't protect herself? I donated half to the hospice and used the rest to take a long overdue sabbatical. Patricia and I had been dating for 6 months by then. She understood when I said I needed time to process everything. Take all the time you need, she said. I'll be here when you get back. I spent a month traveling, visiting sacred sites, talking to other chaplains and counselors about their work, about finding meaning after betrayal. In Jerusalem, I stood at the Western Wall and prayed for the strength to truly forgive. In Rome, I sat in St. Peter's Basilica and thought about resurrection, not from physical death, but from the death of trust, of love, of identity. When I returned, I found a letter waiting for me. Elena's handwriting. Gabriel, I know I have no right to contact you. The restraining order expired last month, but I understand if you want to renew it. I'm writing because I need you to know that I'm in therapy now. Real therapy, not the fictional grief counseling I claimed before. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. Why I chose such a destructive path instead of just being honest about my unhappiness. The therapist says I have complicated grief. Ironically, grief about losing myself in our marriage, grief about the life I thought I'd have, grief about my own capacity for cruelty. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I'm trying to become someone who would never do what I did. Vincent is gone. He's practicing medicine in Mexico now, where his suspension doesn't apply. We tried to make it work, but how can you build love on a foundation of lies? You can't. You were right about that. I work in medical records now, no patient contact. It's mindless, but it's honest work. I'm living in a small apartment, going to therapy twice a week, attending a support group for people who've committed serious betrayals. Yes, that's a real thing. I dream about Aunt Maggie sometimes. In the dreams, she knows everything but forgives me anyway. I wake up crying every time. I hope you found peace. I hope you found love. I hope you found a way to trust again. You deserve all of that and more. I won't contact you again. This letter is my goodbye. The honest one I should have given you instead of the elaborate lie I created. Take care of yourself, Gabriel. Thank you for the years when things were good. Thank you for not pressing charges when you could have. Thank you for being the good man I couldn't appreciate when I had you. Elena. I read the letter 3 times, then filed it away. There was nothing to respond to, nothing to resolve. It was simply an ending, an honest one, finally. That evening, Patricia came over for dinner. I'd been teaching myself to cook, something beyond the basic meals I'd made during my marriage. "This is amazing," she said, tasting the coq au vin I'd spent all afternoon preparing. "When did you become a chef?" "I'm hardly a chef. But I figured if I'm starting over, I might as well learn new things." "Starting over," she smiled. "That's a brave thing to do at our age. Brave or foolish. Maybe both. But worth it." After dinner, we sat on the back deck, watching the sunset. Mrs. Horton was in her garden again, pruning her roses. "Evening, Gabriel," she called. "Beautiful night." "It is indeed, Mrs. Horton. New growth on the roses this year. Amazing what happens when you clear away the dead wood." Patricia squeezed my hand. "Your neighbor is quite the philosopher." "She has her moments." "Gabriel, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever regret how things ended?" "Not the marriage ending, but the way it happened." I thought about it. "I regret that Elena felt she had to create such an elaborate deception instead of just being honest. I regret that Vincent got pulled into it. I regret what it did to Aunt Maggie. But the actual ending, it needed to end. The way it happened just made it clearer. That's a healthy perspective. It took a lot of work to get there. Therapy, prayer, time. And now? Now I'm grateful." As strange as that sounds, the whole experience taught me something valuable. "What's that?" "That truth, even painful truth, is always better than comfortable lies. That facing death, whether physical death in my work or the death of a relationship, honestly and directly is the only way to find real life on the other side." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "That's profound. It's just truth." We sat in comfortable silence as the stars came out. My phone buzzed. A text from Luis. "Emergency at the hospice. The Andersons are asking for you specifically." I showed Patricia the message. "You should go," she said. "It's your calling." "You don't mind?" "Gabriel, your work is part of who you are. I wouldn't want you to be anyone else." As I drove to the hospice, I thought about how different this was from my marriage to Elena. Patricia understood that my work with death wasn't morbid or depressing. It was about helping people find meaning and peace in their final chapters. She saw it as life-affirming, not life-denying. The Andersons were gathered around their patriarch's bed. Robert Anderson, 93, former school principal, grandfather of 12. "Pastor Gabriel," Mrs. Anderson said, taking my hands. "He's been asking for you." I sat beside Robert's bed, taking his weathered hand in mine. "Gabriel," he whispered, "I'm ready." "I know. Will you tell them? My family? Tell them it's okay?" I gathered his family around the bed and led them in prayer, in sharing memories, in saying goodbye. Robert passed just after midnight, surrounded by love, his crossing peaceful and dignified. As I left the hospice at 2 a.m., I found Patricia's car in the parking lot. She was leaning against it, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," she said, handing me one. "How did you know when I'd be done?" "I didn't. I've been here since midnight. Figured I'd wait." "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to." "How did it go?" "Peaceful." He was ready. The family was prepared. It was a good death if there is such a thing. There is. You help make it possible. We stood there in the parking lot, drinking coffee and talking about life and death and everything in between. It was then I knew I could love again, trust again, build something real on a foundation of truth. 2 years passed. Patricia and I got married in a small ceremony at St. Christopher's, with Luis officiating. It was nothing like my first wedding, No elaborate reception, no hundreds of guests, just family, close friends, and truth. Vincent had tried to return to the States but found no hospital would hire him with the suspension on his record. Elena had written once more, a brief note congratulating me on the marriage announcement she'd seen in an alumni newsletter. I didn't respond. One day, while cleaning out old files, I found the photo album Elena had made for Aunt Maggie, the one with our life edited and replaced. I studied it for a long time, marveling at the effort it must have taken. Every photo carefully doctored, every memory revised. Patricia found me looking at it. Is that the fictional life Elena created? Our wedding, but with Vincent. Our house, but without me. Our history, rewritten. That must have taken incredible effort. More effort than just being honest about wanting a divorce. Fear makes people do complicated things when simple ones would suffice. I closed the album. What should I do with this? Whatever feels right to you. I thought about burning it, but that seemed too dramatic. Instead, I mailed it to Elena's therapist, whom she'd mentioned in her letter. I included a note. This might be useful for understanding the extent of the deception. I hope it helps in her healing process. A month later, the therapist wrote back, thanking me for the additional context. She said it had led to a breakthrough in Elena's treatment. I filed that letter away too, another ending properly closed. Life continued. I remained at the hospice, helping families navigate loss. Patricia and I bought a new house together. Not the one I'd shared with Elena, but a fresh start. We hosted dinners for friends, tended a garden, built a life on truth and mutual understanding. Sometimes, late at night, I thought about the strange journey that had brought me here. Elena's elaborate deception had forced me to examine everything about my life, my work, my capacity for forgiveness. In trying to kill me in her fictional world, she'd actually freed me to live more fully in the real one. 5 years after the divorce, I received word that Elena had died. Car accident on an icy road. The hospital contacted me because I was still listed as emergency contact in some old paperwork. I attended the funeral. It was small. A few colleagues, some distant relatives. Vincent wasn't there. I learned he'd married someone else in Mexico, had children, built the life he and Elena had pretended to have. After the service, Elena's therapist approached me. Mr. Morrison, I'm Dr. Brennan. Thank you for coming. Elena was a significant part of my life, despite everything. She spoke of you often in our sessions, with deep regret, but also with respect for how you handled everything. She was a good person who made terrible choices. That's generous of you. It's true. Good people sometimes do bad things. That doesn't erase the good, just complicates it. Dr. Brennan handed me an envelope. She wanted you to have this if something happened to her. I opened it in my car. Inside was a single photo, Elena and me on our wedding day. Unedited, undoctored. Just us, young and in love, before everything went wrong. A sticky note was attached. This was real once. I'm sorry I forgot that. I kept the photo. Not displayed, but not hidden either. It lived in a drawer with other complicated memories, things that were true and painful and part of the story that led to where I am now. Patricia never asked about the funeral or the photo. She trusted me to handle my past while being present in our future. That trust, built on truth rather than elaborate fictions, was worth more than I could express. Today marks 10 years since I received that letter from Whitmore and Associates. 10 years since I discovered that my wife had declared me dead while I was still breathing. 10 years since my life split into before and after. I'm still a hospice chaplain, still sitting with the dying, still helping families find meaning in endings. But now I do it with a different understanding. I know what it means to be erased, to be written out of someone's story. And I know what it means to write yourself back in, to insist on your own existence, to refuse to be buried before your time. Last week, a young couple came to the hospice seeking guidance. The wife's mother was dying, and the husband was struggling with the constant presence of death in their lives. "It's so hard," he said. "Every day is about loss, grief, endings. I don't know how to live with that." "You don't live with death," I told him. "You live alongside it. Death is just part of the story, not the whole story. The danger isn't in acknowledging death. It's in letting fear of it make you create false narratives to avoid it." "What do you mean?" I thought about Elena, about the elaborate fiction she'd created, rather than face the death of our marriage honestly. Sometimes people are so afraid of endings that they create elaborate lies to avoid them. But those lies become their own kind of death. Death of trust, death of authenticity, death of real connection. It's better to face the actual ending, grieve it properly, and move forward with the truth. The couple looked at each other, something passing between them. "We've been pretending everything is fine," the wife admitted, "but it's not. This is affecting our marriage." "Then talk about it. Be honest. Face it together. Don't let fear make you create comforting fictions that will eventually collapse." They left with homework, to have an honest conversation about their fears, their struggles, their needs. I don't know if they'll make it, but at least they're trying to build on truth rather than lies. Patricia and I celebrated our 8th anniversary last month. We went to Italy, visited the places I'd gone during my sabbatical, but this time experiencing them together. In Venice, as we rode a gondola through the canals, she asked me a question she'd never asked before. "Do you think Elena ever truly loved you?" I watched the ancient buildings slide by thinking about the question. Yes, I think she did. But she loved the idea of me more than the reality. When the reality became too heavy, all the death and grief that came with my calling, she couldn't revision the idea, so she killed off the reality instead. That's sad. It is. But it's also human. We all have the capacity to choose comfortable lies over difficult truths. The challenge is recognizing when we're doing it. Have you forgiven her? Completely. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what she did. It means releasing the hold it has on me. I forgave her so I could move forward, not so she could feel better. And Vincent? Him too. They were two people who handled their attraction in the worst possible way. They hurt a lot of people, including themselves. But carrying anger about it would only hurt me. That night in Venice, Patricia told me she was pregnant. At 51, she'd thought it was impossible, but there it was. Life, insisting on itself despite all odds. "Are you happy?" she asked, nervous about my reaction. Ecstatic, terrified, grateful, all of it. "It'll change everything." Everything needs changing sometimes. That's how we know we're alive. Our daughter was born on a snowy December morning. We named her Margaret, after Aunt Maggie. It felt right, honoring someone who'd been wronged but who'd shown grace in her final days. Maggie is 2 now, toddling around our garden, fascinated by Mrs. Horton's roses. Sometimes I watch her and think about the strange path that led to her existence. If Elena hadn't created her elaborate deception, if I hadn't discovered it, if everything hadn't fallen apart, Maggie wouldn't exist. It's not that I'm grateful for Elena's betrayal. but I'm grateful for where it led, for what rose from those ashes. Last month, I got a call from someone I didn't expect. Vincent. Gabriel? This is Vincent Castellano. I know I have no right to call you, but I wanted you to know something. I'm listening. I've been volunteering at a free clinic in Tijuana. Trying to make amends, I guess. Anyway, there's a family here. American. No insurance. Desperate. Their daughter needs heart surgery. I remembered you have connections at St. Mary's. You want me to help? I know it's audacious to ask, but this isn't about me or you or what happened. It's about a 6-year-old girl who needs help. I made some calls. The girl got her surgery at St. Mary's, pro bono. I never told anyone about Vincent's involvement. Some redemptions need to happen quietly without fanfare. He called once more to thank me. Gabriel, what I did was unforgivable. Participating in that deception, pretending to be married to Elena, manipulating Mrs. Sullivan. I violated every ethical principle I'd sworn to uphold. And now? Now I try to honor those principles twice as hard. It doesn't erase what I did, but maybe it balances the scales a little. Maybe it does. We haven't spoken since. I hope he's found peace. I hope he's doing good work. I hope he's learned what I learned. That truth, however painful, is always better than comfortable lies. The sun is setting now as I write this. Patricia is in the kitchen with Maggie making dinner. I can hear them laughing. Patricia's full-throated laugh and Maggie's delighted giggles. Life, abundant and real. Tomorrow, I'll go back to the hospice. I'll sit with the dying, comfort the grieving, help people find meaning in endings. But tonight, I'm here with my family, the one built on truth rather than deception. Mrs. Horton is in her garden, as always. She waves when she sees me on the deck. Beautiful evening, Gabriel. Indeed it is, Mrs. Horton. You know what I love about gardens, she calls out. They teach us that things have to die for new things to grow. But the dying isn't the point. The growing is. That's profound, Mrs. Horton. It's just gardening, she laughs. But sometimes the simple truths are the biggest ones. She's right. The simple truth is that Elena tried to kill me. Not physically, but narratively. She wrote me out of her story, created an elaborate fiction where I didn't exist. But stories have a way of insisting on truth. Reality has a way of breaking through fiction. And sometimes, being killed in someone else's story is what frees you to write your own. I think about Aunt Maggie sometimes, how confused she was when the truth came out, but also how relieved. I thought I was losing my mind, she'd said. Things didn't add up, but everyone kept telling me I was just confused. That's what lies do. They make us doubt our own perception of reality. Elena's fiction didn't just erase me. It made Aunt Maggie question her own sanity. That, more than the attempted fraud, was the true cruelty. But truth has a way of surfacing. Like bodies in water, like bones in gardens. You can bury it, deny it, rewrite it, but eventually, it insists on being known. The stars are coming out now. Maggie will want her bedtime story soon. Patricia and I will take turns reading to her, creating fictional worlds that everyone knows are fictional. That's the difference. Honest fiction versus deceptive truth. One builds imagination, the other destroys trust. My phone buzzes. A text from Luis. Coffee tomorrow. I have someone I think you should meet. A new chaplain just starting out. Could use a mentor. Of course, I text back. Life goes on. People die, people are born, people fall in love, people betray each other, people forgive, people start over. The cycle continues, endless and meaningful. But tonight, in this moment, I'm simply Gabriel Morrison. Not dead, not erased, not written out of anyone's story. Alive, present, real. A man who survived being killed by someone he loved, who found new love, who helped create new life. The elaborate fiction Elena created has long since crumbled. The truth remains complicated and painful and beautiful. And that truth is enough, more than enough. It's everything.